So let's review. Continuing with the discussion in the previous daf about using a candle for bedikas chametz. The Gemara cites a brayso which states, "Ein boitkin loy la'ar chama v'loy la'ar halvana v'loy la'ar havuka el la'ar haner nesha ar haner yafal bedika." One may not perform bedikas chametz by the light of the sun, moon, or a torch. Regarding ar hachama, the Gemara explains that sunlight may be used when searching an achsadra, a gazebo, or a lebahade aruba, the area directly below a skylight, but not litstaden, the sides of a room that are not directly below the skylight. Regarding ur havuka, even though a torch illuminates much more than a candle, and avuka lahavdallah mitzvah min mufcher, it is preferred for Havdalah, the Gemara suggests 4 reasons why we must use a ner rather than avuka. First, one can get into small tight areas with a candle, but not with a torch. Second, a candle casts its light more toward the front of it, while a torch casts its light more behind it. Third, high boyas of a high low boyas. A person will likely be tentative when using a torch out of fear of starting a fire, while there is no such a concern with a candle. Finally, high mashach nahar of a high miktaf aktufe. The flame of a candle is steady, while the flame of a torch jumps and is not steady. The Mishnah at the beginning of the parak said, all places where people generally do not bring in chametz require no bedika. The Gemara gives several examples of such places and resolves several contradictory statements about 4 specific types of places. Chayre bayis, holes in wall where people store things. At an average height, they require bedika. If very high or very low, they do not require bedika because they're difficult to use. Mita, under a bed. A higher space requires bedika. A lower space does not require bedika because it's difficult to use. Eiters yain, wine cellars. B'mistapik. If they come there to replenish their wine bottles during the meal, it requires bedika. Ein mistapik does not require bedika. The Gemara points out that in Eitzer Shemen there is no mistapik, and all Eitzer Shemen do not require bedika because Shemen yesh kevala achila, yain ein kevala shtia. There is a set amount of oil that people will eat, which is known before the meal. There is no set amount of wine that people will drink at a meal. Beit dogim, storage of fish. Storage areas of small fish require bedika because people usually replenish during the meal. Storage areas of large fish do not require bedika because it is known before the meal how many will be needed. The Gemara also adds the following items which usually need replenishment during the meal: salt, wax candles, wood, and dates. Tana, one is not required to stick his hands in small cracks to search for chametz because of the danger involved. There are 2 opinions as to what the danger is. First, sakanas akriv, the danger of scorpions when searching under ruins where dogs would be able to reach. Even though shluchim mitzvah ein nizakin, people going to do a mitzvah will not be harmed, we are concerned that the person will continue to search for a lost personal item after having completed the mitzvah of bedikas chametz. The Gemara points out that if he would also search for a personal item during bedikas chametz, he would still have the protection of shluchim mitzvah and nizaikin because he is engaged in the performance of a mitzvah, as in ha'imar selazulit stalka b'shul sheyichim b'ni oishe'eye ben oilam haba harezet tzadigamer, and as Rashi explains, harezet tzadigamer b'davar zeh, he has fulfilled the mitzvah properly. He's not considered to have done the mitzvah for ulterior motives. His intent is to fulfill the commandment of Hashem. In addition, he hopes for some personal benefit. And as Taisus adds, provided he will not regret the mitzvah if his hopes do not materialize. The Gemara continues that the earlier brisa may be speaking of another danger, sakonas nachar, the danger of arousing a non-Jewish neighbor's suspicion that he's involved in some sort of witchcraft when searching with candles at night. This is actually a machlekes in another brisa. The Tanna Kama says, "Chayr sheben Yehudi la'armoi, baidik ad makom sheyodem agas, v'asham avatam libay." Regarding a hole in the wall between the homes of a Jew and a Gentile, he need only search as deep as his reach and nullify any chametz that may have rolled deeper. Plema yomer kol atzme in the baidik nasakana. He need not search at all because of the danger involved. Even though shluchim mitzvah ein nizaikin, people doing a mitzvah will not be harmed, where the danger is likely, this rule does not apply. Even so, it is mutter for bnei yeshiva to travel to, and even from yeshiva, when it is dark outside. We learn that shluchim mitzvah are even protected when returning from a mitzvah. from the guarantee in the Torah that when the landowner goes to be oil l'regel, he will find his land and animals will be safe and sound when he returns home. Parenthetically, the Gemara explains that the delicious Peris Genusa and the refreshing and enjoyable Chamei Tveria are not found in Yerushalayim, because Hashem does not want people who are oil l'regel to say that it is worth traveling to Yerushalayim just for these enjoyments. Nimtzis aliyah shalei lishma. The mitzvah aliyah l'regel would turn out to be for ulterior motives and not for the sake of the mitzvah. Ubama emr beis shuris b'martif. The Mishnah recorded machlokes between Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel about how much of a martif, a wine cellar, needs to be checked for chametz, and how much is considered a makom she'imach nisbei chametz, a place that chametz is never brought. There is a further machlokes amaroim how to understand each opinion. Beis Shammai emrim shtei shuris al pnei kol martif, 2 rows on the entire surface of the cellar. Rabbi Yehuda understands this to mean 2 rows from ground to ceiling, one behind the other. Rabbi Yehuda understands this to mean shura achas kimin gam, all barrels facing the door and all barrels facing the ceiling, forming the shape of the Greek letter gam. Only the 2 outermost and uppermost rows need to be checked. Rav understands that this means the 2 uppermost rows that are on the outer surface facing the door. Shmuel understands that this means the 2 outermost rows that are on the upper surface facing the ceiling.